everybody? Welcome to UGASports Live. My name is Radi Nabulsi. I will be your host for the next hour or so. I'm joined by the former Georgia Bulldogs head coach, Jim Donnan, who is in Athens, and we appreciate him joining us every Tuesday like he does, looking dapper and looking svelte, looking good. And then, of course, where you have Dayne. So the drop-off is, from first string to second string is pretty deep there, but no, we're glad Dayne's with us, and he'll be with us for part of the show. Then he's got to go give a TED Talk or something. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but it's something TED UGA related. But, Coach, the season's over. We talked about that last week, and now we're in the guys are lifting and doing all that stuff, getting ready for spring practice. Spring practice starts in March. But tomorrow, a lot of the Georgia former Georgia Bulldogs, guy from this last team, they're going to be showing out in Mobile at the Senior Bowl. And I want to get your thoughts. Now these guys, their career is done. I want to see them have the same impact at the Reese's Senior Bowl that Ladd McConkey did, Javon Bullard did. Those guys did a great infusion into their careers by showing out down there. And I kind of want to go through some of these guys and get your thoughts on them, maybe what they need to show or what they could do or what the scouts are going to see from the guys in Mobile.
Yeah, I think the really important part about this game and also the Shrine Bowl in Frisco, Texas, where we got some players there, is the game itself is really, kind of icing on the cake. But to be able to go out there and actually work out, do pro drills, do pro things that they've been used to doing here at Georgia in front of so many scouts, general managers, coaches, even owners go there. It's just a tremendous chance to, showcase your ability and enhance your draft status, because these guys know what they want for their particular team, and they know where they are in the draft, and they know where they are in free agency, and they're always looking for that diamond in the rough. I mean, the guys that everybody knows are first rounders, it's going to pretty much, the tape doesn't lie, but there's always some guys that you might feel a little questionable about if they can meet your standards, and you watch them do this. And part of the deal is the coaches that are there. And I like the way that Jim Nagy, the head of the Senior Bowl, has done this now. Instead of just having an entire coaching staff come in there, they kind of give it a reward to different assistant coaches around the league and let them come in and segment it. And let's just say Dayne would come in from the Detroit Lions as a running back coach, and you would come in from the Rams as a offensive line coach, whatever it might be, but kind of a chance for the coaches to show what they can do in front of the other coaches too, and also give a guy a chance to be a head coach who is an assistant coach, and give him a shot at that. So all in all, it's just a real good showcase, and something I used to really love to go do when I was in television. I did the game on radio, I think 3 times, and just hanging out with the other coaches and talking ball and telling them about the Georgia players and the people in the league. I really enjoyed that, and some unbelievable storytelling going on at night too. I mean, every night in the lobby of the hotel, and they would always have a like a happy hour sponsored by somebody, and some of these guys had a lot of pops there, and it was really rolling. But some really good stories there too.
But you didn't drink, so I bet you got to write down all that good stuff.
No, I didn't, but I did enjoy seeing some of my friends, and also getting a chance to meet some people. But one of the best stories was everybody they were talking about who's somebody that you missed on and that you admit it was a bad deal. And, every coach brought up somebody that was in our group, but this one guy said that he turned down the Walter Payton. And when he said that, everybody in the room looked at him. and we're talking about in college, he turned down Walter. So it's pretty cool.
Well, speaking of running backs, I want to get your thoughts on Trevor Etienne. What does he have to show while there in Mobile? This is a kid that I thought was coming back. I really did. I thought he was coming back for another year. I know initially it was one and done. His plan was to come to Georgia, play 1 year, make it to the league, and he's sticking to that plan. But when we missed so many games, I thought, oh, he's coming back. But what's he got to show?
Yeah, here's the situation with Trevor, as far as I can gather, talking to some of our coaches and also some people in the league. I think the fact that those two guys from Penn State decided to come back, and I can see a situation with Penn State a lot like Ohio State last year, where some of these seniors that to be said, "Look, we're going to come back. We did pretty well this year. Their quarterback's coming back, and now both these backs are coming back." And that just a chance for maybe ETN to say, well, I'm similar to them and they're going to be back this year. I might can jump up in the draft. I'm not putting words in his mouth, but, there's only so far that you have as a shelf life for any running back in the league, and I tell you what's incredible to me, you watch these things on TV and see the different, behind the scene things like that they film for NFL films. But they were showing and we'll get to ETN real quick, but they were showing the New York Giants general manager and the owner talking about whether they should try to keep Saquon Barkley. And the guy was saying, well, from the team standpoint, is he worth giving that much money and us having other needs and all that? And he said, I just don't think anybody's going to pay him what he wants. And for $12.5 million, that's how much he got from the Eagles, three times 12.5, 37 something million. The Giants let him go. And next to as far as New York deals, that one where the Indians sold Manhattan to the people, I think this has got to be one of the worst deals in America. And then you see people like on these shows going back to last year saying, well, Saquon's over the hill, and he doesn't bother me. I'm a big Cowboy fan, and he's not going to hurt us. But incredible what he's doing, and just those. It's one thing to get the yards, and Dayne and I have talked about it off air over here when we're doing our shows. But Parcells used to tell me, hey, there's not many guys that are ever going to make over a 20-yard run in the NFL because everybody's so fast. Everybody can tackle good and for the most part, and it's just hard to do it. He said, I want a guy that can get me 4 or 5 yards every time, and then a home run hitter is bonus. But this guy's already had more runs over 50 yards than anybody in the history of the NFL in the playoffs, and he's still got another game to go. And but anyhow, as far as ETN, getting back to that, I think the biggest thing for him is he can showcase his ability to make cuts, to blitz pickup, which he's very good at, and also catch the ball out of the backfield. So you want a back that can do all three of those and be in what we call an every down back, where you don't have to substitute and put another guy in there. And usually when that happens, then that you restrict what the offense can do and the defense kind of coaches around that. But he is an every down back, and he's a very good person. On top of that, he'll do well on the interpersonal deals with the coaches and things like that. So, but if you just look at, and of course, Roddy and I have been the big proponents of James Cook, but you just look at the backs that Georgia's had in the league over the last 7 or 8 years. When you go back to Chubb, Gurley, Michelle, Swift, even Zamir's doing well, and now Cook, and so you're going to see ETN. I think he can help himself, maybe get a 3rd round, maybe with a good week there at the bowl game.
All right, 2 other guys, because I don't think Tate Ratledge and Smile Mondon have to show a lot. You may think different. I'll ask you about those 2 next, but to me, there's 2, I won't say bigger question marks, but 2 guys I think really need to show out. That's Dan Jackson, although he looked great, playing in Georgia, but can he impress the NFL scouts? And Arian Smith, who was one of Georgia's leading receivers this year, but has kind of history of drops. Got that elite speed the NFL loves. So, what do those 2 guys need to do down in Mobile?
Well, in Jackson's case, you just see the MO for him when you look around the league and you see some of these safeties making all these plays close to the line of scrimmage as far as run support, which he's very good at. And he's also an elite special teams player, a guy that can do every phase of it, blocking kicks, blocking for returns on kicks, blocking for returns on punts. He's been a stalwart for us, one of the best ones we've ever had. And I think that's going to help him. His coverage skills are lacking, but that's just part of it. He's got to go with a team that plays more, zone and doesn't require the safeties to play a lot of. He's a lot like Bullard, maybe not quite as good a cover guy, but very physical. And then as far as Arian, it's just the elite speed. If you look at Xavier Murphy, the guy that's playing for the Chiefs now. They took him completely on speed, and he's made a lot of big plays in the open field for him. And certainly the drops are going to be a concern, but at the same time, he can help himself the way he covers on kicks, the special teams. A lot of these guys are kind of not typecast, and they're kind of pretty boys and don't want to do that. And he'll jump right in line on that. I guarantee you, he'll be one of the guys covering kicks for whichever team he's playing for. And as far as Small, he's just an elite athlete. Probably one of the, Kirby's even mentioned it several times, one of the top 2 or 3 athletes to ever go through here as far as testing. And he'll do that there. He'll test off the charts, and he can play every down as a linebacker, a lot like Roquan. It's one thing to play first and second down up there, but more now you're seeing people throw a lot on first down too. So he can cover and he can hit and can run sideline to side. I think there's something up in the air about Tate, whether he's actually playing or not. I've heard where he was going, and I've heard that he didn't go. So maybe he had some kind of injury to keep him from it. But I hope he gets to play and show what he can, because he's got elite size and great arm span and can pass protect. The one thing Georgia linemen help themselves with is they play a scheme where they run the pro schemes, the things Monk can put in, the different kind of, man block, zone block on pass protection, then the scat protection. Scats when the back's got a free release, then all the different things as compared to some of these linemen, all they're doing is RPO, where they're blocking the run all the time. And then they get hurt when they start having to back up and pass protect when they go to these drills.
Ratledge isn't on the roster. Neither is Jared Wilson, who originally was going to go there, Coach, and is not going to play. Do you think that some of the participation?
Jared Wilson comes back. That'd be nice.
Do you think that some of the participation at the Senior Bowl's related to just how long the season is going now? No Ohio State, no Notre Dame players going down there. Like, some of these guys are still beat up, right?
Yeah, I think at this point, I would think if I'm a elite player at one of those schools or any of the last 4, I would really think hard about going down there, because you can still go to the combine and show what you can do. But just from a physical standpoint, this is a taxing week. I mean, they do a lot of live drills. I mean, they don't put tackle, but they do live pass rush every day. I mean, they'll do it Friday before the game on Saturday. Because they want to see all these reps against these other people. And the one thing that's really good is that, all the tapes of every kid are available to every scout and coach right after practice every day. So you get graded on it. I don't know if they grade your stretching or not, but they grade you on everything.
And then they do all the hand measurements and all the other stuff.
Oh yeah. I mean, you look at I think it's on your site there, the Senior Bowl check-in. It shows the guy's name, then it shows his height, weight, wingspan, hand, all that stuff.
I was surprised.
I thought it was pretty
small hands, man.
Yeah. Who was that?
Jalen Milroe.
He's got small hands.
Yeah.
Well, that always worries you in the quarterback. I thought it's pretty impressive the other day that when that Eckler guy fumbled in the game, that Tom Brady brought up the fact that he had small hands. Brady's doing his homework.
I remember sitting in the first time I went to the combine, there was a quarterback they talked about how they stretched his hand. Part of his rehab or whatever was they were taking his hand and bending it, from the inside out or from the backside forward, and then pulling on it. He did this 4 or 5 times a day so that he could get to 10. That's like the bench line, that 10 inches. And
That's
he's like,
very impressive.
my hand, you get almost a claw just throwing the ball over and over again, and it kind of everything gets compressed. And it's like they had to stretch me out. I did as much yoga on my hand as I did stretching for this combine. I thought that's hilarious. So
yeah, that's pretty good.
Anyway, the last one I want to ask you about is Tyrim Ingram Dawkins coach.
Yeah, I really think this guy is the poster child for potential. I mean, you just see some of the plays he makes and the speed and quickness and strength that he has. To me, everything is ahead of him. I mean, I just feel like his career is going to blossom in the pros if he stays healthy and he gets with the right team. By that, you just need to have sometimes you get an assistant coach that you just don't mesh with, or sometimes coordinator and things like that has a different scheme than what you are better at. So he gets with the right team. I think he's a can't miss guy.
Yeah. And we talked about Jared Wilson for a minute. I hate that Jared Wilson's missing this, because I just think that this would be one of those. He only has the 1 year, and then even then he missed some games. So it's not like I know
he got some great tape though. When you look at him blocking all these guys we've had here, and he has an elite athleticism among the better. I know I mentioned Munden, but he's among the better athletes we've had in the offensive line as far as just movement. You look at when he goes to the combine, he'll be among the fastest linemen there, and he'll broad jump, vertical jump out the wazoo. I mean, I'd like for him to come back for another year, but did they say why he's not playing?
He did. I don't remember why, but it's something about he accepted and was supposed to go down there, and then found out he's not going. So I forgot why. Anthony Dasher will be there, and he'll have a bunch of interviews starting tomorrow.
Yeah, I always look forward to that. Dash enjoys being there, and he's got easy access to them and talks to them, and
they're much more relaxed there.
Yeah, I mean you don't have Kirby blowing the whistle, man.
Exactly. So it's almost like I don't say we do an exit interview there, but it's good to get a recap, and it's almost like it's the first time that it dawns on them that
and then
say what I want to say.
And then you go on and go to the combine. Are you planning on that?
We're gonna go to the combine. Last year Jed did a good job, but Jed's gonna be he's not gonna go in this year, so I might have to go up there and put these guys to the test. There's also it'll be interesting. Clay Webb should be at the
Clay had a good career there at Jacksonville State. I talked to Rich Rodriguez, who now is a coach at West Virginia, and he just said, we just don't get guys like him at our level. And he said, it just didn't mesh here for some reason. I don't know. But, he was a 5-star guy out of Alabama, just highly recruited, and happy for Clay. He'll probably – the one thing you got with him, kind of like that kid from Knoxville that played here, and then his brother played at Tennessee. He's capable of playing guard and center, which you saw the other day how important it was for the Eagles to have a guard that can move into the center position when the center had a bad back. So when you can do both, that's really big in the NFL.
Yeah, Cade Mays, I think was the name you're looking for.
Yeah, Cade's starting center for the Panthers.
There you go. Another Georgia guy. We'll claim him. He started out here, so we can do the same with Webb if he gets drafted. So
Jermaine Johnson starting for the Jets. I mean, there's plenty of them up there.
Nice. We got a lot of Georgia questions that we're going to pepper Coach with when we come back, but I'm going to take a quick break here and mention our friends at Your Pie. Now, they're doing a neat thing where they've taken some of the appetizers that you have in a restaurant, and they said, look, appetizers aren't just for, before your meal. Let's see let's combine them with pizza. So they have a spinach and artichoke pizza. They have a jalapeno popper pizza and a buffalo bacon jalapeno wings, which are appetizer in and of themselves, but the jalapeno popper pizza. I had someone try it because we mentioned it on the show last week. They sent me a note, and he said, "This is phenomenal." I'm like, and I do this every time when they come out with a specialty pizza. I'm always dubious, and I shouldn't be because it's 7, 8 years of them sponsoring our show, and every time we try one of their specialty pizzas, it always turns out great. But I have not had the spinach and artichoke pizza yet, but I'm definitely going to try that. The point is, it's Tuesday. It's Double Points Tuesday. Go ahead and order your pizzas from your pie. Order your wings. Order your sandwiches. Order your pasta. Order your brownies. Order your. Go have a couple beers and get double points on your app. You'll be very, very glad you did so. And I also want to mention our friends over at Academia Brewing Company. That's on the that is on the west side of Athens. So if you come to Athens for the basketball game, good luck to the Dogs tonight. If you come to Athens when baseball starts here in a couple weeks, and you or you want to watch the Super Bowl or something like that, check out our friends at Academia Brewing Company. Like the other day, they had grilled cheese and tomato soup for only $8. Compare it with a chai hot toddy or an Irish coffee. It's a perfect thing to get through a cold day. So when it was in the teens the other days, in the 20s, go by there, have the grilled cheese and tomato soup. Of course, they have their tripolata and all their amazing sandwiches, and of course, fantastic beers. They're award-winning beers. Check them out when you get the chance. Oops, let me add Coach back on here. Coach, this is the time of year where we're also watching the Dogs go.
Ask you one more thing. How about the Shrine Bowl? We got the Warren Brinson Trust. Who else is in that game? You know?
That's the only two I know.
Yeah, I just think
there was a couple linemen. That's what I was thinking. Our offensive and defensive linemen.
I think Warren Brinson will really help himself over there at Frisco. Really played well at the end of the year. Very excited for him. Good kid. And of course, Trust is played a lot of games and is a big body and we know some things that he can't do, but he does a lot of good things too. I mean, he's going to get drafted.
Okay. Hey, I like both those guys. They've always been very good to us, and they've made a lot of plays for Georgia. I mean, they got a couple rings, so I would love to see both those guys get drafted. And it only helps with Trey Scott's recruiting and the recruiting by Stacey Searles. The more guys you get drafted, that's what it is.
Speaking of Ohio State, I heard that one of Ohio State's D linemen might be visiting here. That Hero
Canoe.
Yeah, is that right? Is he coming in?
That's what we heard. We were supposed to visit today, so we will.
All right.
We will have the Butt Smear building surrounded.
He's my hero. He's my hero.
See if we catch a shot of him coming out. My hero are the Philadelphia Dogs, Coach. The guys we watched yesterday in the championship games. My biggest hero, of course, is James Cook, and he made a hero move to dive into the end zone. Had the game of his life, but could not get the Buffalo Bills past the Kansas City Chiefs, even though he tried it. But there's still going to be a lot of former Bulldogs in the championship. So give me your thoughts on the championship games and the Super Bowl, and maybe the Philadelphia Dogs can end the Kansas City dynasty.
Yeah, just one of the best days of any football fan's life is to see those elite athletes playing under that kind of pressure with so much on the line. And first of all, you just can't say enough about the Chiefs winning these one possession games. I mean, that's not luck. I mean, certainly you can say about some of the calls where I thought they missed that one call on the first down, but the fact that they can continually make these plays under pressure just makes everybody realize what an elite coach Coach Reed is and the staff they have. And I thought that was a brilliant tactical move by Spagnola, the D coordinator, running a corner blitz when the game's on the line there, 4th and 6. Took a lot of guts to call that corner blitz, but it's hard to throw the ball off your back foot. And Superman made a throw there. Kincaid could have caught it, but as far as the Eagles, you just look and see guys like everybody knows about Carter, but to see Jordan Davis and Smith both make sacks, and then Ringo's out there playing on a special team. He's getting to play a little bit when this one guy's hurt, and then of course you've seen a situation where we got the other kid hurt his knee. I hate for that to happen, but just a really good looking team.
Where are you putting your money in the Super Bowl?
I don't know yet. I got to analyze it a little bit. I mean, it's hard to bet against the Chiefs, but it's hard to bet against a running game like the Eagles have, because you got that mobile quarterback handing the ball off to that big stud back, and then they got great receivers. I just think I knew it was going to be tough for Washington to keep that level up because they hadn't been making many mistakes, and then all of a sudden they made them. But we'll analyze it next week.
Turnovers in a playoff game.
Yeah.
Sound familiar?
Yeah.
I saw that sideways look. God damn it. Hey, you always tell us kicking game, special teams, turnovers.
Yeah, most games are lost. They're not won. That's for sure.
That's kind of how I felt. Washington really just killed themselves. And hey, shout out to Philadelphia for making them pay every time. 3 turnovers, 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean, and their tackling left a little bit to be desired. Yeah. But that guy's hard to tackle anyhow. But you really don't realize how good that tight end Goddard is, and this is one thing that really gives me a lot of hope for next year with Delp and Lucky and coming back, and also the other guys will have. But I just feel like if we can get our running game going again, that one of the things that Gunner is really good at is play action, and we should have an ultimate play action game with those kind of guys. And then the screen game, not necessarily the game, some of the screens we ran, but others that you see built in with the RPOs that they run, where they're faking that ball to Saquon and then throwing the ball out there quickly to Smith, the one that played at Alabama, or to A.J. Brown. And, if you play soft coverage like they did against them, you get 6 and 7 yards on those, and that really adds up. His senior year, Devontae Smith had 67 passes thrown to him the year he won the Heisman Trophy. 67 passes thrown to him behind the line of scrimmage, and he caught 67. Okay. And so anybody wants to get on us about throwing the ball behind the line of scrimmage, when you can't run the ball like we weren't able to do, you got to try something to get the ball going where you don't have to just throw the ball down the field and make some plays with the screen game.
I remember Devontae Smith. I remember when he was a Georgia commit, as long as that lasted.
I remember that catch he made against us in 17 too. 4th and 3rd and 27 or whatever, 2nd and 27.
Yeah, that's killing me. Well, speaking of, we mentioned that we have a lot of questions from our listeners and viewers, and the first one, kind of some interesting news that happened last night. Georgia picked up a kicker commit, Connor Ferguson out of Savannah, and Big Sky Dog, who always, when I put out questions, is the first person to always ask a question. I need to find out if Big Sky Dog is in Montana or where he's at, but she.
Big Sky Dog
says, I've never heard of a 5-star kicker, because in our headline, we did have Georgia picks up 5-star kicker, but that was from the Coles ranking. And, Coles is pretty well known for their kicking things. I think they have him rated as number 7 kicker. So, Coach, thoughts on Georgia picking up another kicker?
Yeah, I think it's a case of, last year we brought that kid in from, I think, Duke to be a kickoff guy, and he couldn't beat out our guy, and he was ready to go, but he just wasn't as consistent. And when you look at, for the most part, he kicked it off in the end zone most of the whole year, but he didn't that one against Notre Dame. But I think they just want to have another leg in here to, rest if we need to, and also maybe put a little pressure on. This guy's more of a kickoff guy, from what I've heard, than he is a place kicker, although he's good. So he's an in-state guy. I don't know if it's a deal through preferred walk-on or are also NIL or what, but you can't get too many kickers. I'm just telling you, you got to have them. And
Hey, you saw what happened against Notre Dame.
I know they're looking at supposedly looking at a kid from Baylor too, who was a kicker of the year up there at up in Chattanooga. But maybe they decided on this guy instead of him. But he's also another good kickoff guy. But we're going to get our punter back, but he's coming off knee surgery. It's not his plant leg, but and then we got this Branch kid coming in. It's supposed to be elite punt returner. So our kicking game, to me, looks pretty good.
Yeah, especially after, I mean, you look at what the Georgia gave up last year in the one game where it bit them in the ass, and you're like, hey, if you can get a kicker in and put it at the back of the end zone, because you told us 2 years ago we were spoiled with the fact that Georgia had so many touchbacks.
Right, and the thing that's really kind of chaps me going into that game, Notre Dame's kicker hadn't kicked the ball off hardly all year in the end zone. He gets in an indoor game and he kicks all of them out, and then he makes 3 field goals, and then championship game he doinks the field goal. So just everything's in the stars for him that day.
Yeah, it really was. Next question from our Delmonico, another person. Coach, what are your thoughts on Buster Faulkner? Did he know Georgia's players and scheme, or is he just really good?
Well, I've known Buster since he was in high school at Parkview. We had him in camp here, and he's a very good quarterback, and recommended him to Valdosta. He went down there and won the actual Heisman Trophy for that level. I don't know what the name of that is, but I've followed his career and kind of mentored him in some decisions about coaching. Early on, he's a coordinator at Middle Tennessee, and went down to Arkansas State and then Southern Miss, and then came here. He's an outstanding coach. He's got a good feel for teaching, and certainly you got a little advantage there knowing the players and knowing the system. But they just had a heck of a game on second and third down against us. Unbelievable conversions there on second and long and third and long, because we were still worried about the run, and we didn't play a lot of pressure defense or a lot of pass coverage against them. And the year before, 2 years before, when we played over here, Cheney was the actual analyst over there the first year that the new coach was there. And, they went right down the field on the first series doing a lot of things that hurt Georgia, because he'd scrimmaged against us, that defense, all the time he was here. So knowledge of your opponent and the schemes and all certainly help you.
Yeah. That's a really good answer. I like that. Speaking of Tech, we just mentioned them. This is from Love UGA, all caps. Is playing Georgia Tech on a Friday night a new thing now?
I don't know. I mean, they got such good TV out of it last year, and one of the things they've done is move the game to the Benz, because get more people in it. I don't know how the split's going to be with the money. I'm sure that Tech gets most of it because it's their home game, but I don't like playing it on Friday night. I mean, it's just not good just to get out of your routine. But it's a lot better than playing on Saturday night, because if you are going to be playing in the championship game, that 3 or 4 hours certainly is something that you don't want to have against you. Instead of playing it at 12 o'clock like we have a lot of times. So, but whatever it takes, I mean, we got to do it. I mean, we do have the home schedule in our favor this year, but I mean, I don't know that makes that much difference where we play them. It's just, I don't like the Friday night.
Would you ever countenance the idea of getting rid of that series?
I don't see how you can. I mean, realistically, it's just part of the fabric of both schools' athletic departments, and I would be totally against it. I mean, the only way you might get rid of it is if they go to a 10-game SEC schedule or something like that. If they ever go to that with all the other games, then I'm playing two little sisters of the poor, the other two.
Yeah. Well, I get it. That's why I was I was just thinking there's been so much change. To me, it would never come up. You would never even.
I mean, realistically, if you just look at it as good as you can and be give it as much thought as you can and look at it from every perspective. We not only played Tech last year, we played Clemson, who was one of the top 12 teams in the playoffs. They made the playoffs.
ACC champs.
Won the ACC. We played both of those teams on top of the other ones, and we did win decisively against the one. But you just don't know how much that game took out of you. But fortunately, we were still able to win that game and still win the the SEC championship game. But I know Kirby doesn't like playing it on Friday night, but it doesn't make any difference. They're going to tell you when you're going to play, and nothing you can do about it.
True. At least this year they don't have 2 extra days of rest, so it'll be a little more even.
Yeah, what they do, they played on a Thursday the week before they played us, didn't they?
Correct.
Yeah.
So they had an extra day to rest, and Georgia had 1 day less because they played on Saturday. So it just
I mean,
not that it's the end of the world, but still,
every little bit counts.
Exactly. I mean, these games are won in the margin, folks. It really does. Class of '86 asked this last week, and we didn't get to it because we didn't get to all the questions. So my apologies to
Class of '86.
Georgia class of '86. That's the hand.
It's a good year.
So yeah, it says, why are we talking more about Glenn Schumann? Mike Bobo gets the blame all the time. I don't think the defense fared that well this year.
Yeah, I mean, it just I mean, I don't know enough about your website and everybody.
This isn't Facebook. This isn't even the website. This is
no. I'm not talking about his question, but just defensively, we had trouble against the quarterback runs, and we had trouble defending the pass in the air. We didn't. I don't know how many passes we intercepted, but we weren't in the double digits. Were we? I don't think. Can you look up and see? But
yeah, I'll look that up real quick.
And we just didn't. We didn't do as good and didn't have the stats that we have had. And but personnel wise, we had some injuries for sure. Among which, you look at how much Williams was able to play. He didn't have tightrope surgery, but he could have. And then Munden was out, but overall, we just didn't. But with the title, then you're going to get the blame. I mean, that's part of the deal. But
yeah, again, I mean,
he's definitely among the better coaches in the country, and I feel like Bobo is too.
Yeah, I know people like, well, the defense, there are breakdowns everywhere, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's the coach's fault. Sometimes it's not. I don't know the percentages. I will say this, though, Coach, you're right about the double digits. Georgia had 8 interceptions, which was
I mean, you look at how many attempts, how many passes attempt against us?
That it doesn't say.
8 interceptions
in 14 games.
Yeah, I mean, that's not many.
And Georgia was dead last in return yardage on those interceptions. They had 23 return yards. So,
well, we were just glad to catch it.
Exactly. Whereas, like Texas A&M had 249 yards and 2 pick sixes. Georgia had no pick sixes. So.
Yeah, I'd still take our team over A&M.
I will, absolutely. I'm just saying it was not a and again, you replaced 2 coaches on the defense. You replaced 2 coaches on the offense. It's a
yeah.
So each coordinator had new guys underneath him. So I could see some dips and bumps, which of course brings up this question from Mike Smith. I still don't know if this is the Mike Smith that I grew up with. He hasn't responded yet, but he says, are we expecting any staff changes this point of the year? And also, is there a real competition at QB? And I think that's kind of an interesting question, Coach, because we've seen all the coaches out on the road. They're recruiting. You did change 4 guys last year. Usually, if you're going to see a change, I could see it being before you go out onto the contact period so that your new coaches could meet the recruits. But I could also see not making any changes because you want the continuity and you're just rolling right into the contact period.
Yeah, I mean, last year Muschamp decided to semi-retire, and we brought in after the playoffs. T-Rob came in, and then Williams came in from SC right there early to help coach the corners. So I don't know. And then later on, we lost our receiver coach. McClendon went to the Bucks, and then Del McGee right at the end got that job at Georgia State. That was like close to signing date. So you just never know about changes, but I would say at this point, if there are going to be any changes, you won't see it until after signing date. But
no, that's a good. I guess people are wondering about the time.
Yeah, there's no perfect time for it, but usually speaking, it used to be you would never got this far. You wouldn't do anything because you're worried about recruiting. But there's not anybody left really to sign. But we'll see how that goes.
Mike asked, this question came up last week, and but Mike did ask it, and I'll get your thoughts on it again. Is there a real competition at QB? And I think
I forgot to answer that. I do feel like there's always competition at every position here. If you just look at how some guys surface later than the 2 deep that comes out in preseason camp, and that's because of the daily competition that they have out there and all the drills. And he really prides himself as the head coach and the assistants of playing the best guy. And that's they keep a tape individually on each guy to show them who's doing the best and why he's ahead of you or why you're ahead of him. And I think that'll be, even though Gunner certainly deserves the opportunity to be the starter, he's going to be a better one if he gets pressed and has to beat the guy out. And you don't know what you don't know how he's going to look when he gets with the first team, which he'll be able to get some first team reps. He might jump in there and do even better than he does with the second team. And I do feel like the quality of receivers depth wise is going to help both of them be better too.
I think some people fear that because it's, I don't say well documented, but people know that Mike Bobo is tight with the Stockton family, the interplays there. But I'm like, Mike Bobo was a quarterback at Georgia. He had competition. It's his job to put the right guy in it. If he thinks Puglisi is the guy, it doesn't matter how close he is with Gunner Stockton. But if he thinks Gunner's the guy, he's going to go with Gunner.
And Puglisi knows credit, he's tight with him. He and Gummy Van Gorder are both really good with interacting with the players and teaching them on the field. And they know that the guy that does best is going to win the job. And it's just natural when you see that affiliation. You can't blame them. Oh, they've known each other for so long. So what? I mean, you don't have to apologize for that. But I can tell you this: as long as Kirby's the coach here, he's going to play the best guy. I mean, that's just the way it is. He's going to do that. Now, there's times where maybe you think that he's not because of what's happened, but he's going to play the best guy for our team, maybe is the best way to say it, based on how it affects our team. Like when Fromm was here and Fields was going after him, our system was built more around Fromm, and our defense was such that, it felt like we might have more turnovers. I'm not putting words in his mouth, but Fields a little bit more, take care of the ball like Fromm. I don't know if he could or not, but it wasn't as an open a competition as maybe I don't know enough about that to even say, but I do feel like we'll have one here.
Okay, and that's fair because, I mean, the accusation that you've had as a coach your whole career, every coach has it, is they play favorites. I mean, hell, I probably accused all my coaches of playing favorites if I didn't get a starting job. I'm like, I'm better than that guy. They like him more. So,
yeah, here's the thing: you just have a checklist of system, of checks and balances. You've got the head coach, you got the coordinator, you got the position coach, you got the analyst, you got all these eyes looking at somebody. And and you have to justify why you're making that decision if several people are questioning it. You know, like they're looking at it. Are you being objective enough? What are you basing this on? And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, you need to get challenged, and you need to be open minded enough to say, well, I might need to look at it this way. I probably should be. And now you got these. I mean, you got a big time quarterback coach that recruited Trevor Lawrence. That's an analyst here. I mean, to have a guy like him, you know, Streeter's outstanding coach, and you know, he's got a young family over there at Clemson. I know he's still getting paid by them, but I hope we can get him for another year because he's a brilliant guy. He's scouting other teams, going out there to practice, another set of eyes and ears, just like on our defense, to have a guy like Muschamp around, adding on to the expertise we have. But I always felt like this as a head coach, and I'm just going to throw a little philosophy in here, and people can listen to it or not. But I'm going to tell them the way I want it done, and they can keep trying it. And first time it doesn't work, the second time it doesn't work, the third time it doesn't work, then I'm going to look at what I'm telling him as a coach and say, well, for some reason you can't get it across, and we're not being able to make it work this way. What would you like to try? And then let them do it. See if there's another way to do it, because you don't want to keep hammering against something that's not working. So even though you got a philosophy and you're articulating what you want and all that, after 3 times, we're going to look at it a different way and maybe see there is another way to do it.
That makes perfect sense. We got a lot more questions, but I want to mention our friends over at Athens Ford first, mainly because they have a bunch of new specials out there that you need to check out when you get a chance. If you go online, one of the little pop-up windows will come up and say, get $500 extra on your trade-in. They're very aggressive on buying your trade-ins and giving you the most amount of money for them as possible, mainly because they turn around and sell a lot of those trade-ins. Now, of course, they're Athens Ford. They sell a lot of brand new Fords, but they also have a lot of previously owned vehicles on their lot. Over 1,000 vehicles on the lot. You need to check them out. You remember back when we were in COVID and we were talking about them having 200, 300 vehicles. Now we're back over 1,000 new ones. So like the 2024 Ford Ranger XLT, get up to $5,000 off, or 3.9% APR financing for 36 months for qualified buyers. Or the 2025, the new one, the Ford Explorer, all models up to $5,000 off. So even though it's a brand new 2025 current model year, you can still get up to $5,000 off. And the 2024 Ford Escape, I keep telling people, if you want a little bit smaller car, great for just zipping around town, you can get up to $8,000 off the Ford Escape. So check those out when you get a chance. I also want to mention our buddy at myperfectfranchise.net. Chris J wrote a review saying, Andy Luedecke took all the criteria that outlined what I was looking for my investment, and he found an up-and-coming franchise opportunity that fit. The process was efficient, and Andy's knowledge of the franchise opportunities was key in getting my investment off the ground quickly, which was financially beneficial for a number of reasons. Too long, didn't read. Andy did a great job. He knew what he was doing. I put money into it, and now I'm making money. So be like Chris J. Be one of the people who's ready to write a review for Andy Luedecke and myperfectfranchise.net by going through the process, being super satisfied, having him just cater your experience to get you into the right franchise, become a gajillionaire, and then go to myperfectfranchise.net and write a nice review for Andy. He'll appreciate it, and you'll be right. Hey, Coach, a couple questions from the comments section here from Eddie from Ackworth, who is one of our co-hosts on the Sunday show. He says, Coach, is running back university transitioning to tight end university? And also, why can't we seem to run a true running back screen and not a bubble screen?
Good question there. I don't think we're necessarily we still got good running backs. I mean, hopefully both Robinsons will be well, and we got some guys coming in. I could see us using Bell a little bit more at running back if this continues with the injuries. But tight end, certainly, when you look at the last few, going back to McKinney and going straight on through with Washington and Bowers, and now, I mean, it's been a nice little transition here of over the years since Hartley's been here. Then, as far as the screens to the backs, we have thrown some screens, what we call slow screen. Three types of screens. The quick
Okay,
screen
explain those.
where the lineman block for one count and then go out, and then we have a kind of mid screen where they'll hold for two counts to make it really look like you're trying to block a pass, and then they try to get out in what we call the tunnel there between the outside and then between the linebackers, and then the slow screen, which is 1001, 1002, 1003, to really entice the rushers to come through. And normally you let your tackles block the widest rusher, but your guard and center get in the stovepipe, so to speak. If you just think of a stovepipe in between the guard and the outside tight end, and go out and block the perimeter. But those are more for pure drop back passes to accentuate your protection. Screens and draws are ways to slow down the protection, but we haven't screened a lot to the backs. He's exactly right.
Question from Georgia Dawgs Malpass. What about Colby Young getting the charges dropped and returning to the team? I guess the question is, do we expect that to happen?
I don't know. They'll get them dropped. I just hope that maybe we can have a trial and be not guilty. At this point, you got to think that's going to go to trial as much as they've tried to take it in there. But I feel like he's got a legitimate shot at it. I mean, I don't think our people would be backing him like they would. I mean, you would want your coach to back one of your family members if they were in that kind of situation that, hopefully he's been wrongfully accused. So I hope that he'll be able to come back. He would certainly enhance having him and the kid from A&M, Thomas, would really be big for us out there at X.
Yeah, Noah Thomas, great talent. Zachariah Branch in the slot possibly could be very fun to watch. Colby Young. Georgia was expecting a lot from Colby Young. He was getting more and more reps as the season progressed.
I mean, you go back and look at that Texas. I mean, all the games, you look certainly at the just the back shoulder catches he made, the one he made for a touchdown against Clemson, even though it was intercepted against Alabama, something that we were looking to do with a guy with his force inside the red zone. And we've had that when you look at Pickens, when you look at Rosemary, you look at Bowers. We've had guys that can make those plays, and Bell made them a lot. He just kind of he kind of struggled at the end of the year, but I'm like this. I mean, John Wooden, what happened yesterday, you can't do anything about it. What happens tomorrow, who knows? But what's going to happen today, that's all you can control. And that's what we got to do. We got to take care of it today, and so much for philosophy, but really you just can't keep harping on everything. You just got to make the necessary improvements, and hopefully that's what we'll do.
From Keith McCants, he says, Coach, with the surgery keeping Freeling likely out of spring practice, who's the likeliest to step up at left tackle?
Well, I wasn't aware of that till you told me that Freeling had that. And usually shoulders situations, the labrums happen more to the lineman than anybody because of all the stuff they do with their hands and arms and shoulders. As far as who that person would be, I would think we'd probably look at Ernest more in the spring at left tackle and try to find somebody else that can play it, with the idea that Ernest probably play right tackle in the fall. But I really don't know enough about the other guys to say which one's going to be the one that we use in the spring. But we got some big bodies there. I know Calhoun's playing guard, but it should be interesting to see how that tackle situation develops.
I think of the conversation I had with Stacey Searles about his freshman class, where he signed 6 guys. Of them, only Jazeer Jackson 6'10" former basketball player, played all the games. The other guy's all redshirted. Then he signed 5 more offensive linemen in this class. Spring is going to be and again, that's going up against the sophomores and juniors. It is going to, you got 15, 16 guys.
Yeah, you got the bodies. There's no question, and they'll be drilling, and they're going to be on the other side. We got to find some edge guys. When you look at the ones we lost, plus we lost Wilson and Pimba, so those guys are going to really go against each other, tackle. And Jackson was in on the extra point block, and that's how they use him. He's a big, tall kid, he's certainly a different approach as far as size, basketball guy, and all that. But he has a long way to go now. I mean, everybody gets all jacked up about his size and everything, and I'm high on him as a kid, and potential is one thing, but I would be really surprised if he's ready to go next year. I hope that he is, but
he didn't sound like he was ready. He sounded like he had a lot to learn.
It was a good move by us. It was as far as just taking a shot on a guy with that kind of. And I know we did the same thing with a lot of linemen over the years here, and it's worked out pretty well for us.
Shout out to Bill Bulldog Big E. He says Tate's not going, Coach, to the Senior Bowl, and Jared hurt his foot. So
that's why we got this show, to get all the info. Appreciate it.
Yeah, Dash knows all this. If I had Anthony Dasher on the show, he'd have us up to date. He's Johnny on the spot.
Dash probably down there in deep sea fishing right now.
He may be on his way. I need to double check. I got his hotel squared away, so we got to stay real close in Mobile.
He wants to make sure we've changed that to the Gulf of America.
Yeah, he's got to be down there fishing to the Gulf of America. Absolutely. I love it. All right, and let's get the last question in here. It was a question about Colby Young, which you already answered. Where was it? And the question about that. Oh, this is from Whistling Whiskey, and
Whistling Whiskey.
He wants to know: is Georgia paying as much as Ohio State in NIL? Because you talked about Georgia being up there with the big spenders. Is Georgia going to put as much into NIL as Ohio State did? I guess because they won a title, everyone wants to follow that.
I think that talking to some of the people at Ohio State and to some of the people that talk to them that are in the media, more was done with keeping some of their players there, their upperclassmen, kind of like when Chubb and Michelle and all those guys stuck around here. It wasn't so much for the money. I know back then you didn't have it, but I think I know this. Josh Brooks, Ford Williams, all those guys worked very feverishly with Matt and all the people in the collective, and with Kirby. We got plenty of firepower in NIL, and sometimes it's not publicized because we don't spend it on the younger players, and we keep it more with the players that are here. But we've started to spend more. But I just think we got a whole new frontier coming in here in the fall, when that, for everybody that has been in it to the moon and hadn't been around, there's $22 million coming in that's never been here before from TV money that they're going to assign to the athletes, probably 75% to football and the rest of the other sports. But so that, coupled with the money we already have, and people say, well, we probably won't need that money. We are going to need it to make up for that $22 million in the other parts of our program that are being used, for what it might be, travel, equipment, whatever it might be for all these other sports. So you're going to have to offset that by, coming up with new ways to get that money too. But we're very competitive. Let me just ask him a rhetorical question. How is our recruiting class ranked in the top 3 in the country since NIL's been going? It's not because we're just good old coaches and good recruiters. I mean, we know how to use it. And Ohio State, shouldn't have been in the playoffs back in the old days. They wouldn't even been there. I mean, they lost to Michigan. That was it. But there's no question that they were among the top 2 teams in the country, in my opinion, though. They really played extremely well.
Just like Georgia in 2023. And we had some people say, well, the rankings don't matter because the kids can go into the portal. And we did a great piece at UGASports.com where we tracked who's gone into the portal. And Georgia, over the last 3 or 4 years, has lost 6 starters to the portal and a bunch of guys who would not start, would not play a whole lot. They also landed 10 starters out of the portal to play at Georgia. So
that's pretty impressive.
So it's been a net advantage to the Bulldogs. And yeah, if you lose, I think Georgia signed like 24 guys and 13 of them went in the portal, or 14. But how many of them were starters? And you're able to sign bigger classes, just like Georgia did. They just signed 29. Well, now 30 with the new kicker. So you got 30 new kids coming in here, and if they don't make the cut, they leave. So
yeah, that's the thing about it. It's not so much the money now; it's playing time.
Yep. Speaking of time, we are out of time for this week's show, Coach. So we're going to have to punt.
So I got one joke for you here, just on the.
All right, let's go.
I've been these 3 guys were at a rest home, and they're all talking about their physical inabilities. And the first guy said, I wake up every morning, I just have a hard time doing number 1. Said, as much as I try, I just can't do it. And said, the next guy said, well, I don't have any trouble with that, but I have a hard time number 2. It's just my age. It's just such a strain on me and everything. Third guy said, well, I wake up at 7 o'clock every morning and said, I'm just like a racehorse. I have no issues there with number 1 and number 2. But I've never had bowel movements like this in my whole life. He said, it's incredible. He said, the only problem is I wake up at 7, but I don't get out of bed till 9.
Damn it. Damn it.
That's so bad, but it's pretty funny. So I hope everybody realizes you're seeing your last time to see the old coach before he hits a big 8-0. So definitely in the 4th quarter. But I appreciate the fact that so many of you, that when you do see me out around, mention that you listen to our show, and appreciate it because, I enjoy it. And I'm a big supporter of anybody at Georgia, but particularly Kirby. And I enjoy trying to answer your questions and all that. But maybe I might have one more year left in me to do this. We'll see.
Please. You're going to be like Saban or Kirby. You can't retire for hell for anything. It's too much in your blood, Coach.
We'll see how it goes.
All right, we'll see you everyone next week. Y'all take care.